Hello world, happy new year, happy 2017. Welcome to the stream, welcome back. It's been probably 2 or 3 weeks since the last stream. I apologize for that. But with the holidays, I did some traveling and I did not get an opportunity to stream like I would have liked to. Um, However, that does not mean that I was idle completely with the coding. Um, I believe I actually had to watch the end of the last stream to see where I left things. Um, we had uh, just completed coding up our combat subsystem and implementing player attacks against monsters. Um, and we had happened across a bug where the uh, we were properly deducting damage, and when a monster's hit points went below 0, it was killed, and then swapped out. The death routine worked. We swapped it out with a corpse and changed some of the components of the monster so that it didn't move and didn't obstruct movement anymore, and all that worked. But the problem, the bug would rear its head when it came time to clean up the corpse and remove it from the world state, and that was causing a crash. So, my suspicion proved correct when I went back and debugged it. My suspicion was that we were trying to alter our health component list and remove an item while we were looping through it, and that caused bad things to happen, such as a crash. So what I've done, what the fix was, is instead of kind of destroying the object and then continuing to iterate on the list, through the list, which led to bad things, what we do is when we detect that there's a health component that needs to be removed from world state and the game object associated with it, what we do is we get a reference to the object that we're going to destroy, and then we actually then move to the next item in that list. And we grab a reference to that next item before we destroy the current item, and that allows us to safely destroy the item without screwing up our list iteration and referencing memory that's already been cleaned up. So there was that. I was also I enhanced the combat a bit because I felt like it was a little bit too simplified. We just had like an attack and a defense and a dodge modifier, and so what I did is I went back and I added a base value to hit. We had previously set that at 100% for all monsters. I thought that was a little unrealistic, so we're setting our base to hit value via our config file now. So you can see for the goblins we set it up as a 60% base chance to hit. Same for serpents. Kobolds get a 70% chance, and then the trolls get an 80% chance. So because I added that in, I needed to modify the code that reads in from the config so that it reads the to hit value in, and then also the NPC add function needed to account for setting up the new to hit modifier, which is an added attribute of our component, combat component, excuse me. So that gives us a little bit, another number to play with combat. And then I also wanted to, we had previously had just, if you hit, you would do a fixed amount of damage, and I thought that was a little unrealistic as well, and we wanted a little bit more dice rolling involved. So let's find it. In combat deal damage, you'll see what we're doing now is we're generating a total attack value, which is a random amount of the attack value plus our attack modifier. So you're going to always do, your attack will always be at least your attack modifier amount. And then it will also be some percentage of your base attack strength. So that gives it a little bit more variance. I also apologize, I'm a bit under the weather these last few days, but I did not want to put off streaming anymore. I apologize in advance for any coughing or other sickness you may be exposed to virtually. Alright, so I'm feeling pretty good about how combat is working when the player attacks a monster. However, we have not even started to do the reverse, where we're having monsters counterattack against the player. So let's jump in and get started on that this evening, because I think that'd be a good chunk of work to tackle tonight. And I don't think it's going to be terribly difficult. Famous last words. So we're jumping into our main game loop here. We're handling events. We are only going to allow the monsters to counterattack if the player has moved or attacked that turn. If the player has taken a turn, basically. So it'd be very similar to basically we're going to include something in this player moved check. So if the player's moved, then the monsters get a chance to move as well. So what we would like, I think what we're going to do, I thought I wrote up some notes on this as well. Combat notes. Okay, so I said for NPCs during movement, if they're already a single space away from the target, then attack instead of moving. But I think what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put that after we've determined if the monster was killed. Combat attack. I don't think, I'm just going to try, I apologize, I'm refreshing my memory. I haven't looked at this bit in a while. Combat deal damage, so if we have a hit, we deal the damage, and then, oh, here, we do a health check for death. So we do, if the damage dealt is enough to kill the creature, then we know that right away. Right away. So it's minus to jump back. So if the player moved, we're going to update our target map. We're going update. So this is going to be part of the an update, perhaps. So inside movement update, yeah, if they're already a single space away from the target, then attack instead of moving. And that check is very easy for us to do. Let's do it again. Okay, here we go. Ticks until next move. I don't think that would factor into combat. I think monsters should be able to attack every turn. Maybe we just have it. Maybe movement is movement. The ticks until next move is determines whether they can move or attack. Let's just go with that for now. So we grab the object is moving, so determine position based on destination and speed. So what we want to do first grab the position. And what, so I'm just thinking here, like, how do I know that I'm not actually dealing with a player object? And the fact is that the player game object does not have a movement component associated with it. So, hey Insidious, what's going on? How's it going this evening? So I guess we can do the, we can still check to see if the player is visible. If the player is visible, give chase equals true, chasing player is true. That's still valid. OV map. What we need to do is, what is a roguelike? Well, Insidious, a roguelike is, it kind of defines a class of games that stems from an old school game named Rogue. I believe it was the original version of Rogue was built in, I'm going to say the 70s, and it was an ASCII-based game, kind of a dungeon exploration game. So some things that typically define a roguelike, traditional roguelike, or at least an ASCII-based interface, some element of dungeon exploration. So there's like this D&D player versus monsters. Yeah, hey Johnny Blaze, how's it going? Yes, so there's the concept of permadeath, where if your player dies, they're dead. There's no resurrection. There's no do-over. And oftentimes, in most of the roguelikes, when the player dies, the save file is deleted, so there's no restoring any of that. Other aspects of a roguelike are, a lot of them are fairly difficult. And so it's all about kind of learning from your mistakes and coming to embrace your failures and learning from them. Kind of like programming. Sorry. So there's the permadeath, there's the dungeon exploration. Another big aspect of roguelikes is the procedural generation. So the dungeons, as you'll see, I see a couple people have joined. Why don't I give a quick demo of where we are at in the game? And so you should get a kind of a visual sense of what a roguelike might look like. So this is the current state of our game, and what we've done so far is we've coded an engine that will generate our dungeon levels procedurally. The rooms are randomly placed. The hallways that are between those rooms are randomly placed, and then a random assortment of monsters, within given bounds, are placed in various spots through the dungeon. So you can see we're being chased by a goblin right now, and then there was a serpent up there. So as we kind of explore the dungeon and probably get more and more creatures to chase after us, I guess we're out to fight. Let's see. You can see right now I'm just writing the outcome of combat to the command line to standard out, but knocked out our kobold. Now, one thing that was curious is that those monsters weren't moving when I was in combat. Hey, Mr. Love Pickle, how's it going? Good morning, huh? What part of the world are you in? For me, it's good evening. In Australia or thereabouts? It's kind of like a primitive version. Zelda, there are aspects of Zelda that are certainly roguelike. A lot of more modern roguelikes do have graphical interfaces. And once we're done with building out the game engine, we may go through, and it wouldn't be a major effort to swap out our ASCII interface for a tile set. But for now, I just wanted to keep it old school ASCII interface. And I've got quite the assortment of beasties chasing me right now, but I'm just gonna kill it for now. Yes, I am using SDL for to allow me to do cross-platform, cross-platform graphics as well as input handling. However, I built the rendering engine on top of it. So basically, SDL just gives me a pixel buffer to write into, and then it will handle showing it in the window properly. Atom Fighter, how's it going? SDL2 and C today? Yes, that is exactly what I'm doing here. Which compiler? Right now, right now I'm on Windows machines, so I'm using Visual Studio Tools, just the Microsoft C compiler. I've also, my other machine is a Mac, so it builds for Unix using, it'll use GCC, but it'll also use on Mac the name escapes me right now, the C compiler on Mac. Escapes me for the moment. I apologize, but we've got a batch file that will build for Visual Studio on Windows, and then there's a make file on Unix that will invoke the compiler that is available on whichever platform we happen to be building on. Let's see. So I'm trying to figure out the best place to put the counter-attack logic. But in that last bit of just when I was demoing it, I was noticing how the monsters were not actually moving when the player was attacking. So I need to right here, this player moved is true. Maybe I need a different flag. Coding an audio visualizer, that's kind of cool. Sounds like a cool project. So what I need to do now, maybe I need a separate flag. Player moved. Yeah, I'm kind of using that as a kind of a turn update flag. So I'm gonna, when a player attacks, I need to set player moved equals to true. So if the player tries to move and they're blocked, I don't want that to count as their turn. But if their move is blocked by a monster and they're actually doing an attack, I do want that to count as their turn. So I'm gonna add a couple of updates to this flag. Case follow attack call, and now let's just verify real quick. Just verify that when we're attacking one creature, let's find it. We're attacking one creature that the others still move. Let's find some. Okay, so I'm going to attack the goblin now, and the other two should still move. So attack, yes, they're moving now. Okay, good. Attack, attack, attack. Okay, so that part is fixed. So back to figuring out exactly how, when we're going to have the counterattack code. And it needs to be part of this movement update because there needs to be a decision process here where the creature decides that it's close enough to attack, and instead of moving, it's going to counterattack. So target map is what I need to examine. So we already have an easy way to check how far away the monster is from the player. It's the target map that we generated, which is basically a Dijkstra map with the player as the target point. And a Dijkstra map basically calculates how many moves away you are from a given target. So with the player designated as our target, all we need to do for a monster is check the target map for check the value of the target map at the current coordinates of the monster, and if that value is 1, then we know that we're within 1 space of the player, and we can attack instead of moving. So I'm just trying to figure out best place to do that. So if give chase, so if it, I guess we could put it in here. I feel like I want to break it out though into its own logic chunk. So in combat range, player, I'm just going to say if give chase, because that seems to be a good flag indicating whether the monster is interested in the player. I'll just do, yeah, that's the value of chasing player. So no, you know what? I think we also need visibility for a combat attack. Do you have any tips for getting better at C? Admittedly, I am not an expert C programmer, and one of the reasons that I'm tackling this particular project in C is so that I can learn it better. So I guess my advice would be to code in C as much as possible and code a variety of things in C. The nice thing about this, my particular project is there's I get to explore various data structures in C, various different algorithms. I get to do a bit of graphics. I get to do a bit of input handling. There's a variety of, I read from read from and will soon write to text files. So there's pick projects that are varied enough to and will expose you to different aspects of coding in C, and then just gradually make the projects more ambitious as you learn. In terms of resources for learning C, there's several books that I use right now. Let's see, I've got a bookshelf right here. So this is a recent one that I've read through. It's called 21st Century C. It's a good book that was written fairly recently. I think it's like a year or two old, but it kind of discusses some of the more recent additions to the language, some of the newer standards that were introduced. So it was really helpful. A lot of the C resources you find online are old C, like Kernighan and Ritchie, or even just C99 or C89, and the language has come. There have been several standards enhancements, and some of the things that they've added to the language clean up some of the messier bits. So read up on the standards, and coding streams. I like to watch people streaming their programming. There aren't a ton of people streaming in C that I've found, but you can learn good coding practices from watching programmers in any language. So that's my nickel's worth of advice. So to determine if we're currently in Learn C, what do I think of Learn C the Hard Way by Zed Shaw? I think that's, I've worked through like the first, so the thing about that is it used to be a free resource, and he used to have the book available as a free download, and I went back to work through it again. I did it like 2 years ago, and I went back recently to work through it again, and now it's all hidden behind a paywall, which I was like, oh man, it was a disappointment. However, it was basically his way of teaching is having you write small programs that will exercise certain features of the language. So, like I said, you don't necessarily need somebody to set those examples up for you. However, I would say that it was a pretty good resource, and maybe worth your investment. So I'll leave that up to you to read through the material on the site and see if it's right for you. I think there's now some videos that accompany the text, so it may well be worth the money. I don't think it was terribly expensive last time I checked. One resource that popped into my head is there's a website. This is more to kind of challenge yourself. It's not really instructional, but it gives you a decent set of challenges for exercising your knowledge of C. Is the site? It's called HackerRank, all one word, .com, and it allows you to. There's like a ton of different programming problems broken out by category and subcategory, and one of the languages that you can code the solutions in is C or C++. And I found that that's a it was a good way to, you know, a good way to work through several different. I went through like the data structures part of it, and it was a good way to refresh my memory about how certain data structures worked, and then have me figure out how to code them in C. Oh, there's a data structures for a game in C. That's cool. I'll have to check that out. Thanks, Adam Fighter. There's another. I've got a super old. This one, I got this a couple weeks ago. I shared it on stream, but I think this is pretty awesome. Algorithms with C. And this book is, I don't know if you can see that, but it includes the diskette, which actually in the back of the book, there's a 3.5-inch floppy disk. Like, how old school is that? That's pretty epic. I got this, it's a used book I got on Amazon, and it's from, it's not that old, 1999. But I thought it was, I opened it. When I saw the disc in the back, I just about lost it. That was pretty epic. How am I going to use the diskette? I'm not. I'm just going to show it to people and be like, hey, do you even know what this is? I think I've donated all of the computers that I used to have that would read disk. But it's just a disk of all the code that's in the book anyway, so it's not essential. So there's that, and then I always like, just for, I'm a big fan of the O'Reilly books, if you can't tell. But there's just the C pocket reference for, if it's good, if you forget the parameter order of some standard function or something like that, it's really good for looking that stuff up. Or if you can't recall how, the proper set of functions for file manipulation or whatever, it's a good quick reference. So that's about what I've got in terms of references right now. All right, so let me try and figure out. So I need to determine if we're in combat range of the player, and I think I also want to determine if I also want the player to be visible. I don't want the monster to attack if the player is not actually visible. So I'm going to say, well, I guess if it's visible, give chase is always going to be true. So I'm going to say, if the player is visible, hey Gun Games, how's it going this evening? Happy New Year. It's been a while. I apologized earlier. I haven't streamed in about 3 weeks. There was some holiday travel and some illness and all of that fun stuff. But I'm back. It's 2017 and we're going to have a good year. Alright, so this first check will determine if the player is visible, and then so the second check will be determine if they're in combat range. And for right now, I'm going to say that combat range is if the monster's within 1 square. I know some of the monsters we may come up down the road with some creatures that will have ranged attacks, but I'm not going to do that right now. So what I want to do is I want to check the target map, and I want to check it for, again, X and Y. Because the position P is the position of the current component. Oh, so it's the position of the monster. Okay, so if the target map, if the value is 1, combat range, Alright, so we figured out how the player can attack the monster. That's this combat attack, which takes 2 parameters. It takes the game object reference to the attacker, and a game object reference to the defender. So all we need to do is call it with the monster as the attacker and the player as the defender. So, combat attack. And we're going to need the, let's see, we have the movement, we have the position. I think I want this. Game object get component is going to be. Yeah, it takes a reference to a game object, so I want the same thing. This should give me a reference to my monster object. And now I need a reference to the player. I don't have a reference to the player here, do I? Let's see, how do I determine? Oh, I just have a target map. Is player global? I feel like I made it a global. Player. Player, global variable. Excellent. That makes it super easy. Alright, so we're going to do combat attack. And what we do is, if we're going to be attacking, we definitely don't want to move after that. So I want all the rest of this logic to be in an else. Yeah, I forgot how to bubble my text. Did it work? No, I didn't. It's working. It's just weird. Okay. So else, let's put out of combat range. So out of combat range, determine new position based on our target map, and so then it'll do the give chase bit. Otherwise, it'll move randomly around the map, and then do our movement checks. Move. No problem. Good games. How's your coding going these days? You're still working on it? Was a zombie game you were building, right? How's it going? Alright, so if we go and look at our combat attack now. Come on, tooltips. Give it to me. This is a bug right here. I got an extra paren. We're going to do the same hit roll. We're going to get the combat stats from the player. And then we're going to write to the console. Right now, this add message just writes to the console. What's going on in the what happens? Oh, that's cool. You're in the process of trying to recreate the game in C. That's probably quite the undertaking, but I'm glad that you are enjoying it. Yeah, it's definitely a different... It gets you thinking differently, especially if like me, you spend your days coding in a slightly higher level language. It's fun to kind of wrap your head around the bits. It can also be super frustrating when you have like pointers just into garbage and you have no idea why, but you know, let's just look at the positives. Okay, so I think combat should just work. Now, so tracing through the combat a little bit deeper, I started to go through and add these add message calls, and like I said, right now this add message basically is just a printf to the standard output. For now, the next step in the game development is, if you can see over here, GUI. So probably even next stream, we're going to start building out a bit more of the GUI. And I think the first thing that we're going to add to our game screen is kind of a status output window or log window that will have several lines of text that explain to the user what's going on. And right now, the only thing that's really going on that the player would need to be told about is combat. But but we'll have other messages added over time. So I added this basically scaffolding function because I know I want an add message call, and I want it to do. I want it to take a message and I want it to have display that message in a particular color on screen. But for the time being, we're just having it do output to the console. Oops, wrong window here. Let's see. So what I started doing, and this again was off stream, is I started peppering these add message calls through the code, through the combat code. So in this case, it gives us a sense of what's going on. So here we've got your attack didn't do any damage, where the attack was successful, but you're not powerful enough to actually hurt what you're trying to attack. This one says you actually hit for such and such damage. And then I think I have a couple more of these. Oh, it tells you if the attack missed. Maybe I should say. And what I also started to do is adding the ability to build formatted strings within memory and then sending those to add message. So I'm going to copy this. Say we have a hit. You hit the monster for now. And eventually I'm going to have it bring in the name of the monster. So I'm going to say you hit the monster. Or maybe just you hit. However, that's... So I don't know who the attacker is. I haven't built any logic to integrate the attacker's name and the defender's name. I'll just keep it very general right now. We'll go back and enhance this when we're actually adding it to the UI. Yeah, I would imagine it would be, especially if you have very object-oriented code, it would be tough to break that out into functional C. But again, that's an interesting problem to solve. All right, I'm gonna take a 2-minute break right now. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Stick with me. I promise I will be right back. Alright, sorry about that, I'm back. No, I'm glad you're enjoying it, that's cool. so the attack hits. Combat deal damage. Let's see, we're doing. We display message that you didn't do damage. Oh, see, I do have some. Already started to break out the message based on who's the attacker. Okay, so I've enhanced the messages a little bit. Now, the one thing we haven't done is we haven't handled player death yet, and I think that that's okay for now. In fact, maybe we'll just put a message. That's probably good enough for now, because we haven't talked about the different states of the game and moving between states. Right now, there's just in-game state. Let's see. We want that message to be probably in red. So RG. Let's build this and see where we're at. Combat attack redefinition, different basic types. Oh, I need to, yeah. I'm trying to use that function and it doesn't. It's fine. So where I'm trying to call it up here, it doesn't know what this function is yet. I need to declare it. That's one of the problems with a Unity build. There's no headers. You gotta worry about the ordering of stuff. I've actually considered switching it over to like your traditional C build structure. I probably will at some point, but right now, I've got other bigger fish to fry. Well, that'll build. Okay. Alright, so before I start playing this, I want to bring up the terminals. You can see it too. You see that on screen? No, darn it. Oh wait, I will move this up in the list. There you go. Let's see, that's not really useful. I'll try and get up into the other corner of the map so you can see what's going on. Screen management issues. Okay, so you guys can see this now. So I've got lots and lots of beasties following me, and you can see I accidentally already attacked a couple. And it looks like the creature attacked, but its pathetic attack didn't do any damage. So let's see, if I start taking on this goblin, what's going to happen? I hit for 2 damage, and their attack missed. And then again, I hit for 1 damage, and then they hit for 2 damage. So it looks like they are properly counterattacking me. Now let's see if I can get myself surrounded a little bit, get attacked by, ooh, look at this, there's 3 of them. So if I take a swing at one of them, there should be, so this, it hits for 2 damage is going to be the last. Let's see if I can. Boom, so I hit for 1 damage, and then they do a bunch of attacks. So it looks like all 3 of them are actually attacking. That's brilliant. Okay, good, I'm pleased. Of course, we have no idea how many hit points we have or they have or any of that stuff because we're not displaying any of that on the UI yet. That is coming soon. Alright, now I'm gonna hide the terminal again. So that was successful. Alright, I feel like I need different colors based on whether it's the player or creature attacking. But again, none of that's going to show up in the console. Well, that's cool. Let's see. Full health recover. Check for death. Check death. That's what I want. Die.
I don't know where to go.
So you killed the. I put in like a placeholder.
All of what I sow. These mistakes have no one else to blame. Said I could feel it when you left me here, left me here. Our emotions are one and the same. So come on over, we can persevere.
Right. That's good. So basically, our combat implementation is complete. We have to kind of integrate this messaging into our UI, but that's not part of our combat system. Awesome. I think right now there's nothing in any of our structures here that contains the name of our creatures. So I think we're going to need to add a new component before we can integrate the creature's name, because we're storing it, we have it in the config file, but we're not doing anything with it. So I'm thinking that next stream what we're going to do is add a new type of component that will... Maybe it would be... Maybe it's part of our... We can add it as part of our visibility component. Because we have the glyph. I guess... Oh, thanks Gun Games. I'm glad you like the... Yeah. I'm pretty happy with the way things are progressing. I've run into a few like pointer bugs, but thankfully I've been able to work through them, which is satisfying. But I think it is getting late here, so I think I'm going to call it an evening for now. Well, one thing we can do is on my to-do list over here, let's see, we have build out player monster data structures done, allow player to attack monsters done, handle death, clean up corpses done, and then the last step, the last tick mark here, make monsters attack the player, we can now call that done. So I am going to mark combat complete, which is a good accomplishment for our first stream of 2017. So the next item in our list, as you can see, is GUI. So we're going to be building out. We're going to build out some of our GUI components, and I'm going to be already done some thinking about how I'm going to handle the UI code. We're going to do something called an immediate mode UI, which basically means that the UI is not going to, the UI components are not going to maintain any state for themselves. We're actually going to be redrawing the entire UI from scratch, each frame, based on information in our world state. And it's called, if you want to learn a little bit more about it, if you Google immediate mode GUI versus, I believe the alternative is a retained mode GUI. But look up immediate mode GUI. I think that's, and there's a good video by Casey Muratori that kind of explains the overarching concept. But we're going to dive headfirst into that, starting with the next stream, and we'll start adding some other informational views around our map. So I don't know if you launch that game real quick. No, well, you can't really tell because there's nothing here. Let me see if I can get down to the bottom of the map. What we did is we kind of left some space. There's no space. We didn't leave any space on the right side, but we left some space on the bottom down here. And I don't know if we left space on the left side or not. It might just be the bottom of the screen that we left. Some space for our... Yeah, it looks like the left side is pretty much empty too. But what we did is we left at least 5 or 6 rows of space underneath our dungeon map. And all of that... hey, yes, he's the handmade hero guy. Which, if anybody wants to learn about... anyone wants to learn about programming in C, expert level programming in C, check out Handmade Hero, handmadehero.org, I think it is, and he streams regularly on Twitch, and he's got all his videos up on YouTube. He was kind of the one of the inspirations for me setting up this stream, but he's got decades of experience in C over me. So I suggest you at least give him a look. It's pretty impressive what he's doing. But as I was saying, we've left kind of the bottom 5 or 6 rows of our window blank for now, and this is where all of our informational views are going to go. So we're going to have like the message log maybe over here, and then over on the left side we'll have some stats boxes, so we'll be able to see player stats, our current hit points, maybe our current attack and defense values, and whatever other information we want to constantly display to the player. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with where we ended this evening, and so I think I'm going to call it a night. I want to thank everybody for watching this evening. If you are interested in seeing any previous episodes, I archive all of the previous streams on YouTube. You can always hit me up on Twitter at PDCodes with any questions or comments. And if you want to check out the source code for yourself and kind of see all of the details and mess around with it yourself, it's up on GitHub. Be sure to hit that follow button if you'd like to watch, if you'd like to get notified the next time I'm streaming. Yeah, it's good to see you, Gun Games. I will hopefully stream in the next couple of days, if not tomorrow, then in the next couple of days. Hoping to get on a bit more of a regular schedule in the new year. So thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next stream. Good night.